everyone, welcome to my Floss Tube video number 3. My name is Anne, and this is the Floss Tube end of my world about my cross stitching. If you follow me on YouTube, follow my YouTube channel, I also have a bunch of other episodes, and those are related to my yarn business, which of course you're welcome to watch, but I have decided to try to pull all of the cross stitching stuff specifically over here so that if you're just here for the stitching, you don't have to wade through all of my knitting, spinning, shop business stuff. So if you're here for the stitching, this is the right place. So hi, I hope you guys are doing well. Today is November 1st, 2016. It is a Tuesday, day after Halloween. So we're kind of getting geared up for the holidays now. I think that's the official thing. And there's Christmas ads and, you know, Christmas cookie bins at the grocery store already. So I guess we're getting into it whether we're ready or not. So we have a busy month coming up here. My husband's on business travel 2 out of the next 3 weeks, and I'm away a couple of weekends in between, and then my folks are here for the holidays and for Thanksgiving. And then my husband's mom is here right after that, so it's, yeah, the next 6 weeks are going to be kind of crazy, and I think we'll be glad when Christmas comes because we'll have a little quiet time, and he's normally off between Christmas and New Year's. So today it finally feels like fall here, which I'm really, really happy about. It's been in the upper 70s here in New Mexico, and we do not live in the hot part of New Mexico. We live in a very temperate part of it. Our house is about 6,700 feet, so we have real seasons, and it does get cold here, and it's not hot like it is in the southern part of the state, but it's been unseasonably hot, so I'm glad to see that go. I have a sweater on today. I'm drinking some hot tea. All good. So let's kind of just jump right in. I have an FO to share with you guys this week. I finished up the Babushka's Blossoms project I had been working on. Not framed, but I do have a frame coming. This is on a bleached 32 count Belfast linen. I used the DMC conversion on the back of the pattern. It's a Plum Street Samplers pattern, and it actually listed the DMC conversion choices, which I'm okay with. I think it came out really cute and very fall-like, which I'm glad of, because I want to use it to go on our sideboard once I get it framed with some glass pumpkins and some other harvest things for decorations for Thanksgiving. I think if I did it again, I would do it on a like coffee dyed or tea dyed fabric, and maybe use the hand dyed floss for it, because that's what was called, the original called for. But at any rate, I used what I had, and I had the DMC already. So I just went ahead. I think I had the house color I had to pick up, and that was it. But it came out great, I think. I have quite enough room to show all of it this close with this board. I love the vines on it. Let me turn it this way and see if I can get it a little closer for you guys without knocking stuff over. There we go. And I really, really love this little quilted star. I think that would be super cute as a small ornament just by itself. So yeah, that one is done. Just need to frame it up when the frame gets here. So once I finished that, I decided that I would work on a couple of things that are works in progress. The first of which is the Tempting Tangles Welcome Mystery Stitch Along. I had dithered back and forth about what I was going to use for fabric, and I did finally decide on this 32 count linen from Picture This Plus. It's the Wren colorway. And so this is clues 1 through 4. Clue 5 is supposed to be out, I believe it's this weekend, the 6th. And so this is the first quarter of it. So clues 1 through 4, and then there's 4 more rows that'll happen on here. Fun project so far. I'm really enjoying it. The clues are not particularly big, and so I feel like this is actually a stitch along I could keep up with. So if you're interested, Deborah has the signups. You can search on Facebook, and I will try to remember to put a link below in the show notes. You can sign up to participate with the stitch along. I am not doing this in DMC. I'm actually doing this in the Gentle Art floss, the hand-dyed floss. I just really liked those softer colors, and so I love how the green in the center came out with the variegated floss. So that's a really fun project, and I'm working along on that. My goal is to keep up with that. There'll be 2 clues in November, and so I'm pretty sure I can stay up with that. So we'll work on that. Next, I started a, I had earmarked a couple of ornaments to do as Christmas gifts to go in with the gift boxes for family. And I have one left, which is this little guy. There we go. The pattern is Frosty Flakes, and it's from Little House Needleworks. I am doing this on a 32 count mocha. I don't know the dyer of the fabric. I did not take good notes at that point when I had gotten it, and you can see I've started, well, not started, I've actually worked another ornament up here. They'll be cut apart, so I'm trying to use up as much of the fabric as I can. There is the full pattern. It's from Little House Needleworks. And I am working it with the Classic Colorworks. It calls for a mix of DMC and Classic Colorworks, and I'm just using all Classic Colorworks because I happen to have some of those. But I have substituted some of them out. So like the avocado that's called for the little present, I'm actually using a different color. I think it's called Weeping Willow, and it's that pale green right there. So not making any kind of huge changes, but basically just using the threads I have. And so this amount that you see there was an hour or 2 the last couple of nights. So I think I'll have this finished up fairly quickly. And I have this one that you can see up here, and one other that are done but not fully finished. And my plan is to, once I get this one done, just have an afternoon one weekend and do all of the finishing all at once, get them taken care of. You know, I've got flannel, like little checks and stripes for the backing, and I've got some ribbon coming that I want to use as the little hanger at the top. So my plan is to get that finished up this month, so it's ready to go in boxes and ship out for Christmas. These are fun. These are kind of potato chip stitching, you know? You can get through them pretty quickly, and you know, there is a fair amount of white in this one, but it's not like I'm stitching page after page after page of white and silver and gray like in a full coverage project. So it feels like it's going fairly quickly, and that feels good. So I'm working on those. And then I have been, I talked about this in my last video. I decided to put together a very simple every other week rotation for the two Heaven and Earth projects that I'm working on, just to kind of keep them interesting and fresh. You know, I don't have so many projects that I'm like, oh, I can only work on this for a day. I am trying to put in some fairly focused time on these. The first one is a small piece, small for a Heaven and Earth's design, decorating the wreath. It's this ornament, artwork by Scott Gustafson. And I am working this on a 32 count linen, 1/1, and this is where I am. I have made some progress. I am sort of in the general vicinity of maybe a page finish. I added all of this week, the greenery here, and this is the very top of the ornament. So that's as far up as I will go on this. So basically this down to where you see these parked threads, that's a page. And the page starts here and goes over to there. So I'm kind of almost there. I wish that it felt like it was a little closer, but you know, with these full coverage projects, they just take a lot of time. And you know, the interesting thing is so in my other life with my knitting business, I do a lot of knitting on a deadline. And so I know about how long it takes me to knit a sweater that is of this size with this complexity, or I can get through a pair of socks in X amount of time. I mean, I know those variables. I have not done cross stitch in long enough that I don't really have a good feeling for how long it takes me to get things complete. When I had started this project, I originally thought, oh, I'll have this done for Christmas. Well, Christmas some year, but it's not going to be Christmas 2016 by any stretch of the imagination. I still have a lot to go. The piece comes basically down to here. So imagine, you know, that much more this way and in this direction and in that direction. It's a circular piece. So the pages down here, obviously it's not a full page, it's less than a full page, but there's still, I think it's 4 pages that are completely full, and then there's another 4 pages that are maybe half full, and then the rest is partial, much smaller partial pages, but that's still a lot of stitching. So anyway, this is where I am with this, and so I have been rotating this project where I'll work on it when I have had spare time over the week. I'm working on this one, and then alternate weeks I'm working on my other Heaven and Earth design project, which is a stitching shelf. That's the whole picture when it's done. And I am not super far along on this, but I took advantage of the weekend rush in Cross Stitch Finish Line to work on it last weekend. See if I can get that to focus for you guys, kind of, sort of. So I finished 2 full columns, and that's where I am on page 1 out of a gazillion pages. So I'm loving this. I love the colors in this. I love how it's coming out. I'm excited when I get to work on it. I guess a couple of notes on it. I am using the 25 count magic grid. I actually had Heaven and Earth kit this up for me. I decided I wanted them to do that. I am doing it 1/1 on this fabric. I liked that coverage just fine. I didn't think it needed 2/2. I thought the 2/2 was going to be, the stitches were going to be packed in too tightly on this. I obviously am using the parking method. You can see that with the hangsy-downsy bits. But I also decided to try on this because the this first section that I started, I was just running the thread underneath to catch and start it, and there's so much confetti in this, it was getting super thick. So I am trying the waist knot method, which you can see right here, working in columns. So I've got the waist knots for starting here, and those will get clipped off as I move that way across it. And that actually seems to be working pretty well. I like the fact that I don't have to keep flipping this over, pulling it off the stand, and like going back and forth with it. So yeah, that seems to be working pretty good. And so again, this is the project that I have been alternating back and forth with the other Heaven and Earth design. And this is actually up this first week of November in that back and forth rotation. So this will get some time this week with any luck while I'm working on that little ornament. So those are all of my current in progress things. And I wanted to share with you guys just some of my plans for November and then into 2017. How am I doing on time? Okay. Just making sure this wasn't going to go on for an hour with me jib-jabbering. So my short-term goals for November are to finish the Christmas ornament. That I think is no big deal. I'll be able to do that. Keep up with Attempting Tangles Stitch Along, the Mystery Sal, and that would be clues 5 and 6. So again, 2 clues, one I think this weekend and then one in 2 weeks, which I should also be able to keep up with. And then I'll continue working on the 2 Heaven and Earth projects in rotation, 1 week on one, 1 week on the other, back and forth when I have some time that I can focus on those. I find I do better with those if they're like either an evening I know I'm home by myself or a weekend where I just can work on that. Otherwise, I am in the middle of a block and I have trouble kind of staying focused and remembering what it was I was doing. So those are all my short-term goals for November. Nothing crazy. I did decide that I'm going to participate once 2017 kicks off in the Stitch from Stash 2017 group on Facebook that Stephanie, Miss Oh So Crafty, has put together. And thank you, Stephanie, for doing that, because I've been out of doing cross stitch for a while. And so now there's like this Pandora's box that's been opened of all these amazing things that I want to work on. And, realistically, I can't possibly start everything I want to start and feel like I'm making progress on it, because for me that's a thing. I like to see the progress. I like to feel like I'm making progress. That's how I stay involved with a project and not get burned out, or if I have so many things going on that I never see any forward progress, that to me is overwhelming. And I know everybody's different. I mean, it sounds great to start, 300 projects, but I like to have finished stuff. So I decided that I had kind of gotten enough things in line that I should be able to mostly work from Stash next year, or certainly the first 6 months. And the Stitch from Stash is going to run, I think, all year, but Stephanie's just doing it now for the first 6 months. Now, I've set my budget at $25 a month, which I think should cover things like floss, here and there, things that I need to pick up to fill in a hole, or just odds and ends of things. I have signed up for the Stitchy Box every other month collection that comes over the course of the year. So I know I'm going to be getting at least some smaller pieces of fabric and some threads and some other, little goodies in those boxes that, because I've already paid for it and signed up for it now, it doesn't count towards my budget in 2017. So I'm thinking that that will help if I decide, oh, I want to do an ornament or two. And they aren't here yet, but I've ordered I had ordered a couple of pieces of fabric from Hand Dyed by Stephanie and a couple from 123 Stitch. Just some smaller, kind of neutral colored fabrics since I don't have a very big stash. And that way, they're ready to go. If I decide I want to do a smaller project, I can just pull those out, and probably the most I'd have to do is pick up some threads. And I may even have thread for it because I've got a lot. There's a lot of colors, for instance, in this that don't even use a whole skein of thread, and so I know I have extras. So, if I had to pick up 10 skeins of floss, it would not be a big budget breaker for any given month. And I have kitted up a few things that I wanted to do that are bigger projects in 2017, which I'm going to wait and show you when I actually start them. I think since there won't be a whole lot of haul happening, that will be more fun than me showing you everything right now and then saying, oh, well, I won't get to this till September. So when that time comes, then I'll haul the stuff out and you guys can see it. So with that said, let me find my little book. I did plot out a couple of things for 2017. So in January, I'm going to be continuing on the Tempting Tangles Stitch Along because that'll run through, I believe it's till April. I'm most likely, unless something crazy happens, I will have both of those Heaven and Earth projects that I can rotate in as well for the month of January. And then I'm also going to start the Village of Hawk Run Hollow. So I'll show you that in my next video that I've got kitted up. I need to bobbinate the floss, but I have the fabric and I have the pattern and I have the floss ready to go. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. That's going to be my Year of Starts project where I'll be doing one of the individual blocks. I'll start it the 17th of every month. So that'll start the 17th of January 2017. And you might remember last time I also talked about the seasonal stitch along that I wanted to do as part of Stitch Mania. And they're basically running quarterly. So there's the first, second, third, and fourth quarters. And I've really, really been enamored with the drawn thread. And so the first project that I'm going to start for that seasonal stitch along is the Winter Garden. And obviously I have the pattern ready to go. Here it is. I think this is going to be a really good series for me to kind of remember, get my fingers to remember what I was doing. I used to do a lot of embroidery, needlepoint, cross-stitching, crewel work, just all of it. And so there's a fair number of specialty stitches in these patterns. I've got all 4 of them. They're the 4 gardens for the 4 seasons. So I'm going to start with the Winter Garden. And so, again, be a nice way to kind of dip my toe back into it, get figured out, remember how to do stuff. The instructions for the specialty stitches in here are really, really great. They're really clear. The diagrams are awesome. The charts are nice and big, very clear. So yay, 2 thumbs up. So I'm going to be doing this particular one on this 32 count Belfast linen from Witchelt. It's their Smoky Pearl. And I'm using, the pattern calls for needlepoint silks and dinky dyes for this particular one. And I decided that I wanted to kind of keep the hand dyed feel of the colors, but I'm going all with the Gentle Art floss. And so I've worked up a conversion for the list. And again, with this kind of goes back to my budgeting. Until I start stitching on this, since I haven't worked with this floss a ton, even though I love it, you know, I may have to substitute out one color if it's not reading really well. But I think these are going to work just fine on this. So this is the group. I don't know if you guys can see all of that, but there it is on the backing. And I think that there's enough contrast between everything that I should be in good shape. And the nice thing about doing the 4 gardens is that there is some overlap with colors. So for instance, later on in the summer, this Mountain Mist color comes back on a white linen. So you know, I should be able to use similar colors kind of throughout and know how they're going to start interacting with each other. So I'm really looking forward to starting this, and I think I may actually start this one this month. If I can get the ornament finished and keep up with the stitch along, the Tempting Tangle stitch along, then the only thing I have are the Heaven and Earth designs, and it would be nice to have something, you know, a little bit smaller that I could pick up and work on in the evenings without necessarily having to devote myself to the massive charts that exist with the full coverage projects. So all things being equal, that's my tentative plan for November, is to at least put this, you know, get a start on this project, see how it works out, kind of see if I'm going to need to fill in any holes while I'm trying not to buy very much, but if I needed to pick stuff up, not be on a specific budget until January 1. And I do have the fabric for each of the 4 gardens. That's already ordered, and I have picked up most of the threads. So I should be able to work on all 4 of those over the course of the year with the Stitch Mania seasonal stitch along without having to purchase too much or too much else. So I think that kind of gets me going for the beginning of the year. Again, a huge thanks to Stephanie for setting up and organizing the group and putting together the spreadsheets and writing herd on all of us and just keeping all of that straight, because I know it's a ton of work to do any kind of stitch along group like that. I will try to remember to put a link down below to all of the Facebook groups, the Tempting Tangle Stitch Along that I'm in. I'm actually in Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow that Abby Bella Stitch and the Cozy Egg have set up, which I'll participate in more next year once I actually start that project. And Stitch Mania. What else did I mention? Oh, Cross Stitch Finish Line and their weekend rushes, which it's a brilliant idea. It's a great way to just get some really focused time in on stuff like that. So I'll link all that below, and otherwise I think that's about it until next month. So I hope that you guys have had a happy Halloween, and will have happy Thanksgiving if you're here in the US, with some time off maybe to do some stitching before the crazy gift giving, holiday wrapping, Christmas cookie making season hits. But until then, I will talk to you guys next month. Happy stitching!